Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Member Launch podcast. In this podcast, you learn how to grow your association membership with technology, and nowadays that means AI. I'm your host Farhad Khan. I'm the CEO of Member Lounge. We are a member engagement platform, and you can find more about us on our website at memberlounge.app. Again, that is memberlounge, all one word, .app. Today, we're excited to have Jamie Atchison with us, and we will talk about AI adoption and the ethics of using AI for associations. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you start by telling us a bit about yourself and your work?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. I'm the Senior Director of Innovation and Strategy at the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health. So here at ASPPH, I lead our digital innovation, our technology strategy, and contribute to the AI initiatives at ASPPH. To paint a little bit about a picture of our organization, our association represents schools and programs of public health that are accredited. So similar to dentistry school, medical schools, etc., we represent the schools and programs of public health at ASPPH. And ultimately, our work supports the next generation of the public health workforce. The last few years, as you can imagine, much of my work has been focused on helping our academic public health community navigate both the opportunities and the challenges of artificial intelligence. So that includes joining a multidisciplinary team at our association, developing really practical AI resources, frameworks, advancing responsible AI governance, and collaborating with a lot of different individuals, both within academic public health community and industry partners, to explore how AI can strengthen teaching and learning and education, research and practice and operations within that academic public health field. And I think right now, what I'm really most excited about is helping our organization and our members move from curiosity to capability. I think that's the phase in which we're in right now. I don't think it's really just about adopting a new technology and figuring that out. It's really about building trust, strengthening AI literacy, and helping individuals use those tools responsibly to advance our mission, which is core to association work. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
This is so exciting. Jamie, you have an MS MIT. How did you get into nonprofits?
That's a great question. It's certainly been a journey here at ASPPH. I've been with the organization for over 16 years, and it is a unique role that I have at the association, and I'm grateful to be here. And the role has really evolved over time, as you can imagine, that a lot of roles have changed over time at associations and companies just due to the nature of how we work these days. Throughout my entire journey, though, and my entire career, I've always been drawn to that intersection of people and technology and strategy. So that's really where my passion lies and where my strengths are. I enjoy solving complex problems presented to me or our members or our association in terms of operations, and helping our organization think differently about how technology can advance our mission, while also making sure that our values, our public health values, remain at the center of every decision we make. And really, even before I earned my MSMIT at UVA, I think that journey started well before my career. And just to tell a little bit of a story here, growing up, our family dinner table was always round. So the shape of the dinner table was round, and that was intentional. My parents wanted everyone, the six family that I'm in right now, to have everyone have an equal seat at the table. So whether we were talking about homework, planning our next bike ride, discussing current events, or debating bigger questions about the world around us, sitting at that round table made sure that we all felt seen and heard. And so I think that translates to how I lead today and the work that I do and the work that I've always done. I think in all the work I do, I try to create those round tables of conversations, of bringing together diverse voices listening first and understanding different perspectives, and then working collaboratively to understand how can we find a solution to an opportunity or challenge presented to us. And I think that's especially important right now in academic public health, where I don't think a single person or institution has the answer. And so I think ASPPH and me being within this role that I'm at this intersection of higher education, technology, with my MSMIT degree and technology background, and public health, it's a unique opportunity to help move work forward in this AI space. And I really think that the conversation we're having right now about AI, it's not just a technology conversation. I really think it's a leadership conversation. So again, it's going back to creating those roundtable spaces, building trust in your community, in your association community, and then collaboratively moving that work forward around, governance, ethics, workforce development, and helping build the confidence to use tools responsibly and ethically. So it all started with a roundtable when I was a wee little person.
Yeah, and Jamie, this is so exciting because I find myself in a similar situation as well. I enjoy the intersection of business and technology. That's why I do what I do. Even though I'm a software engineer by trade, I like that thin intersection where I can solve problems with technology by listening to all the people. So this is so nice. Now, Jamie, I guess overall, associations have a unique place in public health because associations set many standards and they certify professionals and all that, right? So can you talk about the unique nature that associations play in public health that many people may not know about?
I think one of the most unique things about associations that I appreciate, and especially ASPPH in particular, is our unique ability to bring together voices that typically don't have the opportunity to collaborate in the same room, whether that's a virtual room or a physical room in person. And I think in terms of academic public health, what that means is, bringing together the educators, the researchers, the practitioners, bringing together those individuals with policymakers on the Hill or with policymakers within your community, within your city, your county, your state. And also bringing students into the mix of the conversation, your prospective students, your current students, the pipeline going into your respective fields that may feed into your association community. Also looking larger into health departments, whether that's local, state, federal level, even partnering with other interdisciplinary areas in the healthcare organization space. And then also one area where our Chief Information Officer, Ed Ruiz, is doing an amazing job on in partnership with our association is folding in more leadership across sectors, including, industry and building up those partnerships. So again, I think associations can bring these various groups, whichever audiences you tailor to in the association space, and bringing those groups together because they each represent such unique perspectives. For example, faculty, they're thinking about how they can prepare the next generation of public health professionals. Practitioners are focusing on improving public health outcomes today, tomorrow, and in the future. Technology leaders are advancing new capabilities, as we know, at an unprecedented pace, right? But when you bring all of those entities and those individuals together, which associations do, and I think ASPPH does an amazing job at that. It's one of our core member benefits to join our association is we can convene these individuals and have those conversations, identify areas of consensus, maybe share promising practices, and help navigate our members together. And I think that's a unique differentiator that ASPPH offers. And I think in this moment in time, as we're all facing this rapid change around artificial intelligence, I think it's even more important to bring individuals across sectors, across industries together to navigate that world and understand how we can move it together. Because I think associations, they're not just connectors, but they're really the trusted conveners of the members and their knowledge brokers. And I think that they can be a really strong catalyst for their member community for action, especially in the world where technology is evolving so rapidly. I think it's one of the most greatest values that we can offer as an association space to our members.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jamie, if you look at the AI adoption, pace and the areas where associations should adopt AI right now, like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, what areas are more important than others?
Yeah, I think that one area is that our associations can help make sense of the change that's happening, especially around AI. And whatever that technology change may be coming, a lot of conversation around robotics. There's so many different emerging technologies. So whatever it may be, I think thinking about asking what those fundamental questions should be, how should you use AI? When is it appropriate to use AI? What are the risks? What skills do I need to implement AI if I should use it? And then digging deeper, depending on your membership for ASPPH, it's thinking about public health. So how does this impact public health and the communities that we serve? What should we do about AI in terms of academic public health? And, we can't really answer those questions alone. And it, comes together. So I think just the idea around convening individuals is really critical. And also another really important aspect of that is education around AI.
Yeah.
And I think it's broader than just offering a single webinar or a course. It's convening experts, as I've mentioned, and creating frameworks that can be sustainable, and fostering peer-to-peer learning and building AI literacy, which I think is really important that we do, and especially across the association space and that vertical that associations cater to for their membership. A great example of that work is what ASPPH has recently released. This past summer, we released a report. It's called Harnessing Innovation, Artificial Intelligence for Academic Public Health. And it's a framework for the responsible and ethical use of AI in public health, education, research, and practice. So this is an example of what associations can do, is to pull together these experts in the field to create a framework that can be adopted by their members. So this particular effort was led by one of our deans of our members, Dr. Ashish Joshi, who's the Dean of the University of Memphis School of Public Health, alongside, as I mentioned, Ed Ruiz, our CIO at ASPPH. So they led this multidisciplinary AI task force to create this report. So instead of telling institutions what to do, this framework provides that really strong foundation for thoughtful discussion, responsible implementation and shared learning. And we're also building upon that right now. We are looking to provide roundtable discussions, which is a theme, of course, since I'm involved. I'm very keen on that. So we're offering roundtable discussions for that peer-to-peer learning, online learning opportunities, asynchronous learning opportunities. So I think no matter what, technology will continue to evolve, but our association and other associations can help ensure they build in those frameworks for the respective profession to evolve with those emerging technologies. So the frameworks and bringing folks together is really important.
Got it. Yeah. And many of our clients are actually, and a lot of the people in the audience are actually medical professional associations, like dental associations, pharmacist associations, right? So I think like they can learn from what you're sharing today. So thank you so much for this, Jamie. So what you're saying is that I think we need to make sure that we provide this avenue, for the members to learn and increase their AI literacy overall. And it shouldn't be limited to like one report or one activity, one webinar. It should be a working group. It should be continuous, so that people can get together continuously and they can learn from each other, right? So the key here is continuous learning on AI literacy.
Exactly. Yes.
Right, right. Alrighty. So now, so in public health, I guess like there's a lot of like discussion about accuracy and like when things go wrong, who's responsible, right? One of our clients, we are launching an AI assistant to actually help pharmacists to actually help them with their medical prescriptions, right? So they just before a pharmacist would actually prescribe something, they're using our AI as a quick checklist to see if they have like checked all the boxes, right? Now, then this ethical question came up that, oh, if AI made a mistake, who's responsible? So what are your thoughts on that, and how should medical professionals navigate that?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question, I think, in terms of who's responsible. And ultimately, I think it's foundationally up to the people, right? And so I think that there are aspects of of the technology, of course, needs guardrails
Right.
itself, but
Yeah.
ultimately, I think humans need to be in the lead on this AI adoption. And I think that with the rate of which AI is moving in terms of the advancements, I think that governance really needs to sit at the forefront, and with humans leading the governance of how AI is not only being used, but how it's being built. So ultimately, I think it's up to us as people that we're responsible. And I think that if you put governance at the forefront, then I think that can provide a more sustainable model for how you can use AI in, an ethical and responsible way, and having, this could be establishing principles that are technology agnostic. So
Yes.
in terms of governance, thinking about aspects like transparency, accountability, privacy. As I mentioned, human oversight is critically important. Equity, continuous evaluation, feedback loops, etc. So I think these principles around governance, and really when we say governance, it's AI governance, but also ultimately AI is data. So it's really data governance, right? And so I think
Right.
as these tools change, I think having those governance principles in place, they remain relevant no matter what the tools may be or how they may change. Of course, you may modify them over time. They shouldn't remain stagnant. But if humans are really leading and being responsible with governance, I think that's the main goal associations should be focused on. And I think when you establish that governance program and making sure that, yes, we humans are responsible for the accurate use of AI, ensuring that you have the right people at the seat at the table, and making sure there's chairs for everyone, because there could be various perspectives on the governance program. And if you may leave out one or two individuals, it could impact your governance and ethical and responsible use of AI.
That's wonderful. And Jamie, I think I'll kind of like break it down for our audience a little more here. So, and with the story working with that pharmacy association. So what Jamie
Yeah.
was saying is that we need to make sure we have like good like data governance, when we're training the AI. That's really because if you're deploying an AI agent or an AI assistant, the AI assistant is more like a baby, like that learns on your data, So unless you actually have complete data, that baby doesn't know about that information, and it will probably hallucinate or make things up or search anywhere. So we need to make sure that the data that we provide the AI for the training is complete to the best of our knowledge. And then we also are not introducing any bias. So for example, we thought, oh, you know what, we're going to give this AI these 5 data sources. And oh, by the way, I don't have access to data source 6, so I'm just going to skip it, But that skipping of one data source may actually have major consequences, because the AI will be blindsided by that. And the AI will actually make up answers on that topic that you didn't train it meet on. So that's why the data governance and then like equity, this is very important. And like Jamie was saying is that like if there was like one person missing in the roundtable, that may actually have consequences. And in the data world, it can be that missing data piece. And whenever there is like one perspective missing from the roundtable, like I think we're missing like a whole new like training paradigm for the AI. So maybe, for example, whenever we are training AI, we have to train the AI on some personality, tonality, like how to work with human in a more humanly way, so that missing that one perspective may actually mean a lot for the AI, and the AI may miss out on a lot. And one more thing that we found out is that like so Jamie also mentioned like feedback loop. This is very, very powerful. So what feedback loop means in the world of AI is testing. So say you're launching an AI assistant, and then like once you do a pilot at the very beginning, you launch the pilot, and then you have to make sure you're actually testing that AI assistant with as many questions as you can like think of, and then see what responses it actually comes up with. And if the responses are actually good, if they are not good, that actually means that like your original training data needs some more help there. So then you go back and retrain the AI on the missing pieces, like where the answers were not accurate. So I'm just bringing it down to like executional level, like when you actually do launch an app or something else, how does it impact you?
Definitely. Yeah. And I think it's also how does it impact you, and also thinking about others, right? And I think that's where we at ASPPH, it's such a unique intersection because public health is so broad, and our mission and vision is health and well-being for everyone everywhere, which is the globe, which is a very very big mission and vision to achieve, right? And so I think when we're talking about responsibility, where does that responsibility around AI sit with, and talking about biases in the AI training and data sources, et cetera, it's really important to think about that end user. And I think we all know this now, but AI learns from the data, which the data is created by people. So if the underlying data is incomplete or outdated or reflects inequalities, or inequities, that's on us, and that's how the outputs can reflect those same limitations. So I think the data and data governance is just so critical for the association space, and we make sure that is at the forefront of all that, of what we do in academic public health, because our efforts can impact real people and communities, as with all associations, right? So I think that whether it's if some data points aren't represented in the data, or if we don't question where the data comes from, how can AI unintentionally reinforce disparities rather than help reduce them? So I think it's important that associations think beyond the model itself and ask some questions on, where is this data coming from? Is it representative of the populations we're serving in our association space?
Yes.
Has the output been validated by someone who's a subject matter expert, which again, attending a lot of association related meetings and conferences recently, I feel like that's the $1, $2, or $3 million question, is how do you validate that data that the AI is putting out? So it's interesting having those conversations in the association space, and yeah, so it's a complex issue, but again, I think making sure that we're putting that data governance at the forefront of what you do. We actually have at ASPPH, we have a product that we built to demonstrate that. I don't know if that's something you want me to share, but
please
I'm happy to go.
Tell us. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So with generative AI, we know it's depending on what model you're using. When you input a prompt, you're really pulling from the World Wide Web, so to speak, right? Again, depending on your data source. And so what we wanted to do at ASPPH with Ed Ruiz leading the charges, we wanted to share the philosophy and put into practice of that sense of a vertical AI. And so we launched Ari, which is an AI-powered assistant. So this solution is a purpose-built academic public health chatbot. And rather than relying on a generative AI model to crawl the open web Ari, this chatbot, draws from a curated library of thousands of trusted resources that are selected and maintained by our staff here at ASPPH by subject matter experts. So we wanted to demonstrate in this field, which again, I think is a unique field to be in terms of higher education, public health, and then, folding in technology into the mix, is how do we demonstrate that you can use AI responsibly and ethically, and you can access trusted sources? So we wanted to demonstrate that model. And I think we're starting to see in the association space, a lot of other associations doing a similar thing, is where you can create this body of knowledge or this library, this digital library, and then you can apply that AI, that Gen AI app or chatbot on top as that layer, and then your members are accessing curated resources that are, sanctioned by the association, that, are relevant and aren't mis and disinforming your members or constituents whom you serve. So I think exploring that is a really great avenue for members, and also I think it's a great membership benefit that an association can offer to their constituents. And while I think that approach doesn't eliminate biases right out of the gate, I think it gives at least greater transparency of where the information's coming from. And then also, like you mentioned, that feedback loop of knowing, is this information helpful for me in this task that I'm doing as a member, et cetera. So that is a really great method in terms of reaching members of that vertical AI, using that data that associations have, which I think is so valuable. So definitely check out Ari on the ASPPH website as an example. Happy to chat with folks about that.
Absolutely. And Jamie, I guess what we are working on is very similar as well. So on one of our products, we create an AI assistant just like that, from the body of knowledge that an association would actually have. But then as opposed to the output being just like a chatbot response, we can create new forms of content. So for example, with this medical association, we produced a checklist, right? So for example, I'm prescribing this, say this antibiotic, what is the checklist? And then all we did is we searched all the papers, the regulations, the jurisdiction and everything else. And then we boil everything down to a 5-point checklist that, if you're prescribing this, make sure you do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this checklist became a new type of content, based on the existing body of data, which wouldn't be otherwise available to anyone. And imagine these checklists are being created on the fly by the AI using your own data. And then other examples being creating SOPs, standard operating procedures on doing certain things. All right. So then members don't often actually have the time to kind of go through long webinars, long papers, long research materials, right? But if they need to get something done, I'm hey, can you quickly build me an SOP for getting this done? And the AI can actually dynamically create an SOP for that particular job function. So we're finding that these two types of content are actually very powerful, and we can create on the fly such personalized content that members are getting tremendous value from.
Definitely. Yeah, I think, and especially as agentic AI comes into the mix as well, I am really curious to see how associations may leverage agentic AI. So it's not just taking generative AI and having an assistant of sorts answer some questions, and you receive that output, but also seeing where agentic AI can help perform some tasks for members. And again, that's sitting on top of that data layer that an association may have, that the members are willing to have, share and have access to across the membership. So I really think there's so much opportunity. But again, I think there's been lessons shared by others of making sure, well, who within the association has access to what data, right? There could be varying levels of rights and access and privileges. And so I think there's lots of opportunity, but then it all comes back down to governance to ensure that the individual is accessing the appropriate data and able to perform the tasks they need to. So very exciting, but again, with that data governance lens is so critical.
Absolutely. So, Jamie, so that reminds me of a story. So, we have a product. It's called an AI onboarding agent. So, what it does, it's an agent that actually does like a conversational survey with a new member, learns about the members like preferences, why did the member join, and then like it would kind of like send out automatically personalized onboarding emails. So if a member came from a certain discipline, and if the member is looking for training in certain areas, then the AI agent will on the fly find out what material the association has and send it to him right away. And plus, it'll keep doing that, like send matching content throughout the entire year. And this agent also, what it does is that like it does membership renewals, so automated membership renewal campaigns. It'll send like personalized membership renewal campaigns, right? Like to make membership renewals easier. Now, I had a meeting with this potential client, and then like they were saying, hey, like this is my job right now. I am the membership manager. I am doing this. I am doing all the renewals. Are you saying I don't have a job anymore after this, right? So how do you kind of like work with that line of thinking?
I think it's challenging right now in terms of managing that conversation around how generative AI and agentic AI may impact, the workforce and flows. But I do think that these are inherently tools at the end of the day. And so whether we're talking about generative AI, agentic AI, robotics, etc., I think that truly, humans need to be in the lead of all of the work that we do, again, with that responsible and ethical lens. And I think that these tools can augment our work. And so perhaps, sure, it could help us operationalize some of our daily tasks and free up some time. And I think then that time could be spent towards something that may deliver more ROI, return on investment, or make a really strong impact to the association and its members. So I think as we're exploring how do these tools fold into our daily workflow, how can we use it strategically across our association in terms of our internal operations, I think there's endless ways that it can help us work a bit smarter and less harder in some areas, again, with the proper guardrails and governance in place. But I think then then what do we do with that? If there is that freed up time, what does that look like, right? And so I don't necessarily think that the conversation needs to be that generative AI or agentic AI or these tools are necessarily replacing my job or aspects of my job. I think it's just augmenting the work that we do. And so I think the associations and companies, for profit, the ones who are embracing it, again, with that responsible and ethical lens, I think will yield more success, with that mindset. And, we see the headlines where some companies are, there's layoffs because they're saying, oh, AI can do X, Y, to Z job. But I think the ones that embrace it and keep their workforce, but use the tools in really innovative ways, I think those ones will be the most successful, in my opinion, and a little bit what I'm seeing already. So I think it's all about augmenting the work that we do.
Yeah, and I guess talking to one of our potential clients, what we realized is that many associations are not open to adopting AI at full scale yet. So then we reverted back to, can we do a small pilot, right? So can you maybe pick 100 members and then let's define the pilot project, what is our definition of success, what work are we trying to automate, and what are we trying to improve overall? Are we saving time, saving money? How is the association benefiting from it? So I think that discussion is critical, that we shouldn't be adopting AI and using AI just for the sake of using AI. What is the actual benefit you're getting as a result of that AI pilot project, and starting it as a pilot project? Because sometimes the board or the leadership may be resistant to actually taking a huge risk. But if you do a pilot, then the risk is contained, and then you can You can also like work at a smaller scale. Investment is limited, and if it doesn't work, so what? You learn from it, just move on, right?
Exactly. I am a firm believer of doing those pilot tests, those MVPs, minimum viable products, I think is
Yes.
so important in this day and age, and especially in the association space. I think a lot of associations, typically and historically and currently, may have limited funds. And so I think with that MVP mindset and pilot test mindset, you can test something out with your members and users and get feedback and either pivot and be agile and iterate from there, or as you mentioned, if it's not as successful as you think, then it's something that you sunset. And I think unfortunately sometimes you just have to roll those MVPs out the door and see what happens, right? And I think just with proper marketing and communication and manage the situation. But definitely starting small and iterating is key in this day and age.
Jamie, so I have this key question for you as well, that like associations are typically slow in adopting technology, or they move slowly with changes, right? But then AI is moving at such a rapid pace. So like how do you like connect the dots between these two? Like how do you deal with it?
That's a great question. It's very challenging right now, I think, especially in the association space, and depending on what associations are focused on. I know it's also challenging in the higher education space as well. AI and other technologies are just advancing at such an incredible pace, and so it's has its challenges. But I think going back to the topic around governance, I think that's something that can't be forgotten. And so while I think it's important to stay in tune with what technologies to adopt, for example, AI, making sure that whatever technology you're moving forward is done so thoughtfully. And I think moving something forward thoughtfully doesn't necessarily equate to slow. As we mentioned, going that pilot test MVP route. So, I don't think, we don't necessarily need to close that gap between, how fast technology is moving and not, forgetting about our governance efforts. Because I think that's just so critical for how associations move their work forward. And I think it's focusing more on how do you make the governance of the way in which you move technology forward or data efforts forward is making sure that foundation is more agile. So, as I mentioned, just having that flexible framework to then adapt to what is, the emerging technology that you may need to pivot and pilot test a solution or product or member benefit to your members. And I think we talked a little bit about it already, but in terms of those pilot tests and MVP solutions is having those feedback loops. So the sooner you can get something out to production, again, making sure you're thinking it through thoughtfully, but getting it out to your users and having those feedback loops, I think is really critical. And making sure that's just baked into your processes as an association.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that reminds me of a decision-making framework. Like so if you're doing a pilot or applying AI in something, like make sure that you do the pilot or apply it in a way where things can be undone. If you make a mistake, it can be undone, and you don't leave like a permanent damage. Like you shouldn't let AI send out like a massive email to everyone in the association and then have it ruin your reputation altogether. So I think there has to be guardrails like that. So things you cannot undo, you have to be very careful about those.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, it starts with, human in the lead and figuring out, well, what does that responsible AI adoption look like for an association? And we talked about it a little bit earlier, is it's not necessarily asking, well, how do we use this new emerging technology, whether it's AI or agentic AI or robotics or whatever may be coming down the pipeline, right? Because there's always going to be something coming down next. It's, well, how can you use XYZ, so AI or agentic AI or robotics, to better fulfill our mission, and making sure that the values of our association are at the core of what we do.
Yes.
So I think making sure that that responsible adoption is leading by example, and all of those pilot tests that you may roll out, and again with data governance and governance of the programming at the core of what you do.
Absolutely. And maybe if adoption is looking risky to some association, maybe try a low risk area where maybe even if something goes wrong, the risk is completely managed. It's such low risk that people don't really care. Maybe you can start there if you're feeling not very confident. Jamie, on that note though, there are many associations who I know who are kind of just sitting on it, and they're thinking, we'll see where it goes. Right, we'll see where it goes, and then we will adopt. We'll see who's the winner, Claude or ChatGPT or Microsoft or whoever it is. We'll see who's the winner, and then we will adopt. What is your message to them?
I think it's important to not get left behind. However, that being said, I do think it's really important to reassess or revisit the association's mission, vision, and values, and making sure that the emerging technology, so AI and agentic AI, thinking through, well, how does this technology, how does this tool help us advance our mission and vision? How does it align with our values? How can we deliver member benefits with this tool or tool set? And I think if you're having those conversations first, and I always think about the outcome, what is the outcome that we are trying to achieve, and work backwards from there. Because I think there are so many tools in this world, especially in technology, that can help you reach an outcome. And I think if you start with that outcome and work yourself, backwards, then you can figure out what is that implementation path forward. That being said, I do think it's really important for, with this movement, just because it's so vast, that it's important just to remain curious and to remain educated in the space. So it's going back to that AI literacy, and even if you may not roll out a product or service or member benefit that has AI or generative AI or agentic AI applied to it, I think ensuring that the association is staying educated. So should they want to apply one of these technology tools to help, achieve a specific outcome, that they're, somewhat well versed in it. And one thing that's really great about the association space, and why I love working in the association space, is that individuals are always willing to share their lessons learned. So even if you yourself aren't moving forward AI work at your association, or your association isn't quite ready, then still join those roundtable discussions, learn about how similar or even different associations other than yourself are moving forward AI. I think in terms of the association space, I think it's a broad spectrum of adoption of AI and agentic AI. So no matter what, there will be individuals in the room who are in a similar space as you. So learning from those who are at your end of the spectrum, so to speak, and those who are, well beyond, adopting and delivering services on a regular basis, every 2 weeks, deploying a new, feature or feature set, right? But I think just learning from others is key, and not recreating the wheel. But definitely don't get left behind, I think, is really important. But at the same time, balancing that to ensure that the work you're doing still aligns with the core values, because sometimes there could be conflicts. But remain curious and remain educated, I think, is key.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Jamie. So Jamie, say a lot of the associations who are listening to this, they're thinking about what is my next step, right? If there's one thing I could take away from this podcast, and one thing I could act on, what would that be?
Great question. Well, I think we all know that technology is going to continue to evolve.
Yeah.
And every day, whether it's in the headlines of the news we're reading or listening to or podcasts that we're listening to, there's always something new. I think the rate of change of technology is going to exponentially grow and just be rapid. And so I think the most important thing to do is, again, to remain curious and stay educated. As I mentioned, just ensure that the values of the work that you do remains at the compass of how you work forward. I think if we ensure that our mission guides our strategies of the technology tools we implement, such as generative AI or agentic AI, etc., make sure it's in that direction and not the other way around. I think the association space will be well positioned to harness technologies in ways that will strengthen our professions and the members who we cater to. I think specifically for ASPPH, I think there's great opportunities to improve the health and well-being of others and better serve society if it's done right. Again, thinking about ethics and responsible use and governance, and there's a lot of different layers to it in terms of environmental impact and planet and impact of people. But again, I think if we have the appropriate people at the table and you're moving those conversations around how AI is created or how these tools are created at the beginning with the technology companies, and then how are they being used, I think is really important. And I think that I think AI can really create new, exciting opportunities for associations. And I think, again, as I mentioned, I think it's just important that you pull up more chairs to that table as you're considering how to move things forward and explore them together, because we know that AI raises a lot of different difficult questions around trust, around privacy, around equity, research integrity, a lot of unintended consequences that we're learning on a daily basis. Again, whether it's about our environment or people, etc. But again, if we pull up those chairs and listen in with curiosity and learn from folks, I think we can all collaboratively move forward on solutions that will benefit our members in the association space. I think technology, again, it's moving extremely fast. Trust takes a lot of time. So I think associations, we're really uniquely positioned to help professions build trust around the tools that we may or may not use, and also help educate our professions and educate our members if we have the ability to. And I think just to ensure that that's how AI can serve people and not the other way around.
That is so insightful, Jamie. Thank you so much. All right. And on that note, I think this reminds me that when you actually have to build trust, you build trust like one person at a time. You cannot win trust at scale. And that trust starts from yourself. So if you do small AI experiments, even if you don't roll out a large solution, just test an agent just for fun, try it out, see how it goes. Once you start trusting the technology, you'll see that it'll be easier for you to roll it out to your team and then to your whole organization. Alrighty. So Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. We are out of time, but I can do this with you all day. It as well. So if people have any questions, how can they reach you?
Well, thank you again so much. It was a pleasure to join you today. And to reach me, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Again, my name is Jamie Atchison. You can find me on LinkedIn. And also feel free to visit the ASPPH.org website, learn about our AI efforts in academic public health. We are more than eager to welcome you to the dialogue, and we'll pull up that chair to the round table. So please do reach out to me and my colleagues at ASPPH, and looking forward to continuing the dialogue on this journey that we're all on together.
That's great. Once again, thank you so much, Jamie. So we are at the end of the episode for today, but I think like a few key takeaways that I have for everyone, I think, is that like number one, that like Jamie said, like be curious, like no matter what happens, be curious. Technology is changing at such a rapid pace. The pace will not slow down. It will just like grow from here. So just be curious, just know what's going on, and then build that trust like one person at a time. Just like start testing with things, and just play around with things. And the other thing as well is continuous learning, so you cannot just like do one webinar and call it the day. There has to be a continuous learning engagement loop with your members about AI literacy. So it's more about like having like a program on AI literacy as opposed to having one webinar, because AI is changing and you need to have that framework to serve your members better and educate them on AI better. Alrighty, so with that we will wrap up for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're like watching this on on YouTube videos or just listening to the audio, and we will see you next time, and we wish you all the best with your membership and AI journey. Bye for now.